Okay, looking at these major market verticals, these are my proposals. The most important being this identity access management grid, which enables a cyberforce. Cyberforce will always maintain its this identity and access management grid and the pieces that you connect to it. That is what Cyberforce manages. These other pieces, now they manage it alongside the private sector. This is the most complex major market vertical in a lot of ways, because Cyberforce has to maintain a lot of control, but you still want to maintain the opportunity for the private sector to build more advanced versions of this Titan M-like component. All different companies have to have something like that. Maybe it's the Titan M that they all have to license, but there are ways that you can make that component more evolved. Ultimately, I came up with this before Google made public that they were trying to make this component, and my design is more advanced than theirs. From early 2018, a lot of 2018 I was spending time thinking about security, and this is when Google made this public, but they didn't make any details public. They just said that they wanted to use this component. And in 2019, I did all the detail for how you build this piece of it, how these algorithms get connected, and you have an RSA-like algorithm and rotating algorithms and seed values that build individual security tags that can get combined in an overall security algorithm that's combining security tags to build an overall resultant encryption key. And thus you have numerous companies involved in that. And you're only transitioning around the seed values and the algorithms. So you're not actually transitioning the keys themselves. It's always a seed value and an algorithm. And then an overall algorithm that's combining those rotating algorithms, rotating values, to get your overall rotating algorithm, which is a combination of multiple other rotating algorithms. And then you've got a situation where you can be passing around seed values and algorithms. You update the algorithm if there's a problem or on certain intervals, but generally you can just update the seed values and that's sufficient. And so it's not even, you're minimizing the amount of things that have to be updated over the network and the efficiency of the network, but you're also creating this super complex system. And there would be no way. You wouldn't be able to get somebody's social security number or any specific number, because the number that we use would be constantly rotating. It would be a rotating algorithm. That's the best system we can build. Then it doesn't matter who you want to, you couldn't try to siphon somebody or pull somebody's security key in order to, like even if you were super good at technology and you could build like Elon Musk goes to make a transaction and you can detect the signal his phone is sending to the device that it's sending the signal to for the transaction, which is the direction we're going for financial systems overall. And it could say, the way that this could do it could have Elon Musk's biometrics, and those get sent over the back end to a network, so there's no way to intercept the biometrics files. And even if you were able to, there's an encryption level there that, unless you understand the encryption technology, you would never be able to decrypt the biometrics file anyway. But we don't even need to do that, because we can have an identity tag that you have the biometrics files on the device and they get authorized, and then they say, hey, here's this identity, and it passes a valid identity tag, and that all gets confirmed, and then you finish the transaction on the handheld where you choose the account that you want to pull the money out of and all of those things. And so it's an identity tag that's rotating, that has non-unique, or you can't identify the identity because it rotates. And then you're just selecting account numbers, like account number 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you're able to select these and there are different ways that you can organize these and build these app structures and whatever else. But now there's no way that people can accomplish identity theft. It would be impossible. And so we should make that a priority. Also, if we're going to have an advanced security with AI and drones, we need a system, and that's why I have this visual where I talk about building these libraries feathering together and having GitHub and maybe Palantir or Sonar is I think somewhat of a competitor to GitHub. And so you have these different hybrid repository systems, and through these IDEs and through these relationships for how they plug into these bigger library networks, you can shop around for more libraries for building more products. Maybe you want to build a product in like Strategic Pivot or in medical records. And so again, you can go and you can start plugging together the way these different libraries feather together through the major market verticals, such that a consumer wanting to build a product knows, I have to work with these major market verticals to develop these APIs to access these system resources, which come all the way down to this level. And that's how we build a world that has the ultimate security structure or collaboration strategy for enhancing security structure throughout these interconnected product streams, which is a very complex thing for people to understand unless they have experience with the technology, because they're interconnected products, really. They really are. And so you have to understand the way this is a very different kind of economy than brick and mortar businesses. In all reality, the way these businesses come together, it's very different. And that's a subject that we need to broach with our society, this object-oriented discussion and how we have this more advanced society. But yes, we will go a direction now if we have libraries and we're looking at, we have the ability to analyze broad sets of code bases and how libraries relate to one another and how they're being used in context. If we have that system, now we can look at deep ways of analyzing algorithms used on drones, and we can assign threat levels depending on the type of calculations, because you can detect if somebody's calculating trajectory and could then calculate how to target something very, very accurately. You could determine if somebody's using that in their drone. And so that's a different threat level. Simultaneously, if somebody is using a controller to drive a drone, or if you can tell it has algorithms in it and GPS data that it's using to fly itself, that drone could fly itself from one point who knows how far, because it would have GPS data, and so it would have greater range. Whereas a device that's using, and you could even probably detect what kind of bandwidth the controllers have, and so you would know the range and different things like that. And you want to be archiving what identity put this code on a platform, and what are its capabilities, what's its threat level, give it an identity tag such that it shows up over radar streams. And again, that's something you have to work with cell towers or Wi-Fi and Bluetooth technology, something so that that tag will show up on a network. Probably cell phone is the best technology to try to say, hey, if you're a drone, you have to have this cell phone compliant board as part of your drone, otherwise we won't let you compile it to the network, unless it's a very, very low threat level drone. And so you can have all these advanced ways of looking at architecture and the components that are being used in systems, the combinations of systems being used and strategies, and you can assign threat levels, and we need that. That's something that our military needs to be doing. But the bigger point is that we want to be coming together for identity theft regulation, and in order to make certain grids possible, an identity access management grid possible, the safest and most secure nation possible, we have to work together on core infrastructures to standardize them and make them compatible. Right now, if we don't make a priority like strategic pivot, we have digital companies getting away with this quality of solution. Effectively, what they're doing is cobbling together roads. It would be like if you drove through a state and had roads of different lane sizes, and I know that there are different, like some roads are asphalt and some are concrete, but it would be even worse than that. It would be like we're using different materials. We're not even trying to make the roads be all 10 lanes wide. Some of them are 8, some of them are 10, some of them are 6, whatever. We just, it doesn't matter because we have no standardization. It's kind of like the Wild West where it's whatever you can sell, whoever's better at selling ultimately wins, because we're not worried about getting people to actually understand what's the best purchase. We don't care about that. We only care about what you're able to sell. I mean, because it's true, unless we broach this conversation, like there's a best way to build this complex identity access management grid. Unless we broach this discussion, people are going to be confused whether or not Bitcoin is the best decision, because I personally believe, and I will talk about this later on here, and again, this is part of security for the military, but if every different financial system is trying to remain separate and not work together, there are loopholes then. And so you want to work together and build the best, strongest possible financial grid, because otherwise people can work together and get away with basically inventing money out of nowhere. And there can be some sly stuff that happens now. And so we have to manage this more fiercely if you understand what's really going on, because these technical systems, you can invent money out of nowhere, and unless people can track it down, they're never going to know that you did that. And so the answer is to get companies to work together to want to build this fair, equal ecosystem. And talk about how best talking about Bitcoin, I've talked about this rotating system, that could make Bitcoin irrelevant because of how secure my strategy is. It doesn't matter that they came up with this super secure strategy for transactions. I have a more powerful, more advanced infrastructure capable of more things. It's the better solution. It's cheaper to implement. And so this is the level of conversation we have to take that to, and the military should want us as part of our government of the people identity to protect this bid process. You should want there to be strategic pivot as like a key thing you fight for the American identity. And I don't want to step on too many people's toes by saying that, but think about how I'm talking about this advanced government backup strategy and the parallels to communism and how that is approaching conversations which brings people into the team rather than saying, oh, like you're a commie, and I diffuse anything about what your identity could be fighting for, what you could see that might be potential for a potential for how we be a stronger team. But instead we're attacking the word that you choose to associate with your identity, and people aren't even really thinking about what people are fighting for. They're just making it be this triggering in-group, out-group thing. And you guys, I need you to be stronger than that. I need this nation to be stronger than that.